Hi, I'm Jonna Van June. We are so excited you're joining us here today. But before we get started, I'm going to take a quick minute to talk about the Nebraska Tech Collaborative, an Exarban workforce initiative. Our sole mission is to develop, retain, and attract tech talent and entrepreneurs to the state of Nebraska. We couldn't do this work without our partners. Not only the companies listed here, but our other stakeholders in government and education and nonprofits. We can't solve these issues alone. We must all work together to find unique solutions in solving our workforce challenges. We can achieve this by looking at not one issue, but looking at how we can affect the entire pipeline of talent. This is why we created the NTC committees. The vision of the NTC Internship Committee is to create accessible, high-quality internships in Nebraska for every high school, community college, and university learner who is considering a technology career path. And by increasing the number and quality of IT opportunities for students in Nebraska, we will be in a better position to retain and develop and attract IT talent. Please welcome Jeremy Fisher, Director of the John P. Fahey Career Center and Creighton University and NTC Internship Committee member. Jeremy?
Hello, everyone, and welcome and thank you for joining today's webinar on Jumpstarting Your Tech Internship Program. This webinar is designed for small and medium-sized businesses who want to build their internship program from scratch or revamp their newly developed internship program. We know this task can be daunting, but we want to be able to present clear and actionable steps and share best practices from our employer participants and lessons learned to help you create and operate a successful internship program. One that adds value to your organization, helps you build your talent pipeline, and improves your organization's brand. There will be a short survey following the webinar to help us better improve our programming in the future. Please be on the lookout for that. Again, I'm Jeremy Fisher, Director of the John P. Fahey Career Center at Creighton University. I've been at Creighton for 17 years, and prior to that, spent 6 years in recruiting. And a lot of my job in the Career Center is working with employers both in Omaha and nationally about internship program development, best practices, and recruitment. I'd like to have our panelists introduce themselves and tell us a little bit about their role, their company, and their internship program. Courtney, can we start with you?
Hello, I'm Courtney Reinert. I am the Chief Operating Officer at Redberry Innovations. We started the company almost 3 years ago. We specialize in cybersecurity and artificial intelligence. We have a lot of work with the government, but we also do some work in commercial as well. With our internship program, we go year round, and we've had interns pretty much the entire time that we've been in business.
Kylie, can we go down the list with introductions? Thank you.
Of course. My name is Kylie Maddox. I am the Senior HR Associate over at Team Software. My main roles are going to be any kind of recruitment activity, onboarding for the US, Australia, and the UK, payroll coordination, benefits admin, all of that good stuff. And what Team Software does is we create and provide a Windows desktop and cloud-based business solutions for janitorial and business security consulting companies around the world. So our product initially started with a core financial system, and then we built on newer modules to really have a fully integrated system to manage our entire operations. As far as our internship program goes, we have a summer internship program. It's been newly created. So in the past, I would say like 3 years, goes from mid-May to about the end of July.
My name is Brian Carey. Good morning, everybody. I also work at Team Software with Kylie. I'm a software development manager at Team Software and have been involved in the internship program for the last few years. So as Kylie said, Team makes accounting and operations management software for the building services and security contracting industry. And as far as our internship program goes, it's been a huge value add for all of our software development teams. And it's been a lot of fun to be involved in recruiting with Kylie out and finding our fantastic interns that we brought in. And it's been wonderful to get our name out there and spread the word about Team Software and also find some great new full-time employees. So thank you.
Good morning. My name's Dave Schaff, and I'm one of the executives at MCS Family of Companies. We have 3 companies in our portfolio. We're in Scottsbluff and Cheyenne. We have MC Schaff and Associates, which is a civil engineering firm that does mostly government and municipal work. We have Panhandle Geotechnical, which is an environmental consulting group that does deals with hard environmental issues, such as fuel spills and hazardous materials. And then we have EnviroService, which is an analytics and industrial service company that deals there again with municipalities and large industries. Sometimes I'm referred to as our company's first intern. Our formal program actually started after I had the opportunity to be exposed to the family business and through the industry as a whole, as I worked here all the way from middle school, high school, college opportunities. But after that, it became evident that providing that exposure to other students, it plays a significant role in their professional development and their career, and also helps them get back here in Scottsbluff. So yeah, I think that's about it. So thanks.
Thank you all. I love the mix of employers that we have represented today, from small to medium-sized businesses, from Eastern Nebraska to Western Nebraska. We've got a kind of a startup founder experience and perspective, along with a human resources and executive and hiring manager perspectives. So looking forward to getting your all's insight and feedback as we go along. Our agenda for today, really is focused on going through the nuts and bolts of getting started, and we'll include time to answer any questions that you may have. And as we go along, feel free to put questions in the Q&A feature, and we'll try to address those either as we go or save time for those at the end of the webinar. And we'll just kind of go through and talk about the various components of building a great internship, everything from funding and resources to recruiting and hiring, and as well as managing interns, both now remotely and in person. So let's get started. The National Association of Colleges and Employers, NACE, actually defines internships as a form of experiential learning that integrates knowledge and theory learned in the classroom and with practical application and skills development in a professional setting. In other words, internships are professional experiences for students, leveraging their knowledge and experience while extending their skill set. A recent Career Builder study found that 67% of employers reported that they will be focusing on their recruiting efforts on hiring recent college graduates, the highest mark in 10 years. Internships are the best way to be included in that future pipeline to help attract and retain top talent in Nebraska. NACE reports that 61% of all college students nationally have internship experience prior to graduation, and that number is certainly growing. As you can see, there's a list of 10 internship benefits to consider about for your business. Everything from that pipeline that we discussed to developing ambassadors for your organization, for completing specialized projects, potentially testing out talent for potentially converting to a new position or a full-time hire, as well as increasing diversity for your organization. The next slide, we'll talk about building a great internship. And really the key to building a successful internship starts with getting internal buy-in. You absolutely need to have a dedicated champion or champions to identify level of interest within your organization, projects and performance needs, and an understanding of what abilities, skills, and knowledge an intern should possess and to ensure a good ROI for your company. When you are ready to get to work, the first things I would recommend would be to create a form or an application for requesting an intern internally, to identify key attributes, qualifications like education, systems experience, and prior work experience, which will help in preparing a job description that should include information about your company and projects the intern will be working on. You will also want to assign the supervisor and the team the intern will be working with to clarify the hours, compensation, and evaluation the intern would be expecting. Kylie, I'd love to hear your insight from an HR perspective in terms of what that process looks like at Team Software, in terms of how, how many internships are needed, and do you go out to seek that information from hiring managers, or do they approach the human resources function? I'd love to hear your insight about that.
Excellent. Well, thank you. So typically from a year-over-year perspective, we have around 2 to 3 interns for every summer. How that would initiate would be I would send up for an approval alongside of the hiring manager to our executive teams, which would kind of funnel down. We would post out a job posting. We also do attend career fairs, local and kind of surrounding. So we branch out to Kansas, Iowa, and of course, Nebraska to leverage for our interns. And then we would create a couple different interviews. So one to include the hiring manager to vet out candidates for that internship program, and then a separate interview after that first initial interview to include some more key stakeholders for further vetting, and then go into the hire stage.
Great. And Courtney, what does that look like for a more of a startup company in terms of building an internship program?
It follows a very similar path to just hiring employees. So, all the things that you say on here are a lot of the same processes that we would follow in just hiring employees. I'd say the biggest difference for us is the time commitment that we're looking for from the interns. We really only bring them on a semester at a time, and we have about 3 to 5 interns at any given time. And doing it semester by semester seems to make the biggest difference, just because their lives are changing so much from semester to semester that we need to reevaluate each time and see if it's going to be a good fit, and they might decide on their end just because of their needs that things are changing as well. So and then, you have on there like number 5, assigned to a team and a supervisor. Again, it looks like almost like a regular employee. They're going to have different hours. You need to look at their compensation and everything, but we're still making sure that we have a good balance on all of our teams.
Next, we'll talk about goals and measurement. Before you begin your internship description, consider what organizational goals you have and how you will measure the intern's success. So ask yourself, what help do you need assistance with for a particular project? Do you want to convert graduating interns to full-time employees? Do you want to have an ambassador type of program or create ambassadors for your business? Is there an area of expertise interns could bring to your organization? Do you want to use the internship as a focus group for your products and services? And how will you measure performance and success of the intern? Brian and Dave, I'd love to get your insight on this in terms of a supervisor, a hiring manager, an executive approach about what types of things you were looking for in terms of how you built your internship program in terms of measurement and goals you were seeking for your organization.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Jeremy. One of the things that we look for across all of our teams is just a project that fits really well, or a piece of technology that fits really well with what the students are learning or currently learning, in their actual classes. So we'll kind of gather the tech leads together of all of our teams, and we'll make sure that we find a software and a project that fits well to bring on an intern, something that they can easily pick up and learn that doesn't require them to onboard to a bunch of legacy technology or anything. And the goals we set out for them is to become a member of that team as if they were just a full-time member of the team in general. So it's actually a lot of fun to bring them in. We get their new perspective, and we'll set milestones throughout the summer, like onboarding onto the technology, making their completing their first story, submitting a pull request in the software world. So it's a lot of fun to find those specific projects that work really well, and then set goals and measurements over the course of the year to see them progress and contribute to the project as well. So as far as measuring the performance and success, we have weekly meetings with our interns. We have them set up with a mentor throughout the whole summer that's on their specific team, and that mentor really works closely with them to make sure they're progressing and actually getting some work through. And it's fun for the students as well, because then they get to commit code and add to features that actually get pushed out to production. So it's a good experience.
Yeah, our internship program, it was mostly developed almost as an interview process, so that we could really look and focus on trying to retain some of the talent that we could actually garnish from the interns that showed up. It started off as being mostly a summer program. A lot of college engineering type students would come and work with us for the summer. That's evolved down actually to where we were working through the high schools here, have a career academy program, and so that gives them the opportunity to actually look at career focused education even at the high school level. And so our internship programs have evolved from summer programs actually to a year-long process that started even through the high schools. But for us, it really was to try to convert those internships to long-term employees. It's difficult to have that exposure from a professional level in Western Nebraska. So it's worked really well for us. A lot of our projects are long-term oriented. So it's unfortunate that, even through a summer internship program, we can't expose them through a whole project level. But we do our best to get them involved from the beginning of a project to try to get them all the way through to as far as we can towards the end of their internship program. And, as far as their performance and success to the intern, it's usually measured by their success of how excited they are to come to work and how excited they are about talking about the projects that they're being exposed to. So that's, for us, it's more of a personality level at that point to make sure they'd almost be a good fit for us, as well as they shows their interest in the field as they get through and learn more about it. So.
Hey,
Great,
Jim.
thank you. Yes, absolutely.
I kind of wanted to add to this about converting the interns to full-time employees. We absolutely do. It is still an investment, even though, you don't always need to pay interns as much as some full-time employees, or they don't always have all the benefits. You're still investing a lot of time and you are still paying them. And so, after going through all the work of hiring and getting them into your program, you want them to stay. And so this is something where, you're investing in them now, but you want them to be full-time employees at the end of this. It is a really good pipeline to have.
Great, thank you for including that. Next, we'll talk a little bit more about internship descriptions and staffing. Like all job descriptions and job listings, internship descriptions should clearly state the company background, culture, goals of the position, scope of work, hours, pay, and necessary skills. If you require specific coursework or majors, that should be included as well. Be sure to note any opportunities for interns to work on something innovative for your company. Those kinds of projects are a big plus and will make you more appealing as an employer. Also list any perks like free lunch on Fridays, special discounts, or if you have summer housing assistance available. And within your staff, depending on the size of your company, it is helpful to have an internship coordinator if your organization is recruiting many interns for various staff and departments. This person organizes the recruiting and onboarding process and matches interns to their projects, departments, and direct supervisors. It is also important to identify, as Brian mentioned, a mentor, a supervisor, a project team. A mentor acts as the intern buddy. They will be the intern's go-to source for questions ranging from anything from, can I ask someone from another team for advice on a project? Or is there a good lunch spot nearby? The mentor can be the supervisor, a fellow team member, or simply a long-term employee. And the supervisor is the intern's boss, assigning work and monitoring progress. Regular feedback and structured evaluations can help the intern understand their strengths and their areas of need of improvement, and promoting growth during the internship. The project team is comprised of the people that will work with the most, and the best intern experiences fully integrate interns into a team. I'd love to hear your thoughts on any lessons learned in terms of how you've developed your internship descriptions for your organizations, and what has been, in your opinion, appealing to students to attract them to apply. Kylie, we can maybe start with you first.
Sure, absolutely. So as far as some qualifications that we hold to kind of ramp up for our internship programs is you have to be enrolled in a computer science program or area of study, have a GPA of 3.0 or higher, and just have an overall genuine passion for engineering, driven by curiosity, kind of a problem solver. Collaborative is especially important, especially while we are working remote. Some of the benefits that we offer for internships are paid housing, paid parking. We do supply a company laptop or Surface for the duration of their internship program. Benefits, we offer medical, dental, vision, 401k, all of that good stuff. We also offer paid holidays and PTO accrual. Alongside of a flexible working schedule. So Team Software is a very, very flexible working environment. It is part of the culture that we cultivate. And this is a paid internship, as you mentioned before. As far as how we kind of nurture the interns, we also provide a Team Bridge program, which essentially will match up an intern with somebody outside of the development team, another area of business that they can kind of ask questions, get to know different businesses within a Team Software. Anything from, we offer VTO program, parental leave. Oh gosh, I'm trying to think. We offer a bunch of different offerings and benefits throughout the year. Of course, with the hope that, as it's been stated before, they do also become full-time employees, and we have leveraged our internship program for our full-time employees as well.
What other perks or benefits have you used as selling points for your internship descriptions?
So I can add a little bit to that. We don't offer all the same kind of benefits that Kylie mentioned, but we do have high wages. So that seems to work. We tend to reserve a lot of those benefits she mentioned for our full-time employees. But I agree with you. We should be listing more of the perks that we give, like free lunch and drinks. And we even have like a bring your dog to work policy, which some interns have used in the past, but we haven't listed them. It's looked more like a job description, yet we've been really successful with that. So I think, adding all of these descriptions, like you mentioned, would probably help us even more. But we've been pretty successful just going out and at least trying and meeting with people will still get you plenty of interns in the door.
And it looks like we do have a question that might be relevant to Dave, because I believe you had mentioned your internship program has been included high school students as well as college students. The question posed was, if they're interested in placing high school interns into businesses, are you open to high school interns, and do you have any suggestions that they could pass along to high school students?
Yeah, I'll be honest. Honestly, high school students are a whole different animal. They bring in a lot of different challenges and a lot of different variables to the equation for internships. We work specifically with the counselors at both in Scottsbluff Gearing. We get interns. Right now we have 3. They're placed by their counselors, and they're, again, what I suggested as part of their curriculum. And it's very difficult in our business. We do take them on and we enjoy having them, and we found that they're great advocates for our businesses locally. The challenges that we see with that is that their schedules aren't nearly as flexible as say a college student, in that they have periods of maybe 1 to 2 hour openings that they can come, and it's almost more of a job shadow than it is as an internship in our work environment at that point. But there again, we do offer it, and we openly accept all of them. We do our best to get them real life experiences in the engineering fields, but it's challenging just from the standpoint of getting them scheduled, and especially during the school year. Now, summertime is a little bit more open, obviously, but during the school and the year-long process, it gets tough. So.
Great, thank you. There was another question about internship pay for tech interns, and that kind of leads us nicely into our next slide of funding and resources. So first of all, the question on pay is, do you need to pay interns? And the answer to that question is simply yes, but not all interns are paid an hourly wage. As you are determining the resources needed for your internship program, be sure to explore all options. Some employers choose to offer a stipend or a scholarship to cover maybe the cost of an accredited internship. And if you look at the 5 benefits of paying interns, you're just going to get a better experience. You'll secure, more highly qualified, best top talented qualified interns. You'll get increased performance, increased diversity, and much higher worker retention rates, especially if you are looking at converting them into a full-time employee. One thing to point out regarding legal protection is the U.S. Department of Labor's Fair Labor Standards Act states that for for-profit organizations, if the employer is the primary beneficiary of the intern's work, they would be legally required to pay the student. So that's something to keep in mind. And for students in college looking at doing an internship for credit, they actually can be paid and get academic credit for that internship. The cost of an internship program can vary greatly. Some organizations offer competitive salaries, housing assistance for interns, and other perks. Educational institutions and the Nebraska Tech Collaborative strongly advocate for paid internships for that reason, and the reasons that benefit both the intern and the employer. And quite honestly, in my experience, if you have a tech internship that is unpaid, you will have a hard time finding and attracting, quality candidates to apply for your internship. Here are some typical paid internship structures. So an hourly rate for interns in technology in Nebraska, the range that I've seen primarily ranges from $15 minimum up to $25 per hour, depending on the experience and the skill of the interns. So I would say larger companies are probably in that $20 to $25 an hour range, and then smaller to medium-sized businesses are in that $15 to $18 an hour range. And if you think about Nebraska's a minimum wage, which is $9 per hour, I often joke that, our students can go across the street and work at McDonald's for $12 per hour. So, and I love McDonald's breakfast. So, but, in terms of equating it to hourly rate, being a competitive wage and salary to attract the right student is going to be helpful. The national average based on NACE's guide to compensation for interns is roughly $18.73 per hour for technology interns. So, but intern stipends can vary anywhere from $1,000 to $3,000. And stipends are more common for, I would say, for nonprofit organizations, or perhaps a more financially feasible option for a growing trend that is kind of termed micro internships. Micro internships are typically more short-term, special project-based internships that could be maybe a 1 or 2 month long project. So if that's something to consider in terms of budget or financial planning for your organization, that's something that has been growing, especially with the pandemic and a lot of students doing remote internships. Typically, though, internships could last 10 to 12 weeks and run on the same timeline as semesters. So the fall, for example, would be typically August through December. Spring would be January through May, and summer would be May through August. However, your internship can be customized to fit your needs. For example, if you have a 2-month project that calls for additional help, search for interns who want to work in that timeline. As you are planning possible budgets for your interns, a couple of scenarios to consider whether you would be looking for a part-time internship or a part-time internship during the school year, or a full-time intern in the summer months. So using a sample baseline rate at $15 an hour minimum, you can expect an intern to cost about $3,600 for a part-time intern working up to 20 hours per week for up to 12 weeks for 1 semester. For a full-time summer intern working 40 hours a week per week at $15 per hour for up to 12 weeks, that budget you would need to plan for is $7,200. So, and obviously there are some internship programs that are more year-round. So depending on how many semesters or terms you're looking at, you just have to budget accordingly. You do not need to provide healthcare benefits to interns because most students are covered by their parents' or guardians' healthcare plans until age 26. And health insurance coverage is typically also required by their schools. However, if you offer other benefits such as healthcare or other bonuses, that's certainly up to you as the employer. For external resources, the Nebraska Tech Collaborative's Internship Committee and many university career centers offer free consulting services working with businesses interested in developing an internship program. If you need additional support, if you need sample job descriptions, performance evaluations, or have any questions throughout the process. I'd love to learn a little bit more about some of the considerations that you put together in terms of not only compensation, but other benefits. Brian, I believe you mentioned that you offer summer housing for your interns.
Yeah, that's correct. So I think you hit the nail on the head. You have to pay interns, and the range that you've got there, the 15 to 25, is exactly the range that we've seen out there. So when we go and try and recruit for internships, you're kind of up against some, more recognizable software names. So team software not being as recognizable, we wanted to stay competitive with the pay. So we're right in that range of $18 an hour. And then as a benefit, because we recruit from, cities surrounding Omaha and and looking for students and interns that may not be from the area, we actually did get a partnership with the UNO dorms in Omaha here, and we'll provide the interns with housing for those 3 months that they're in town here. So that's another really great benefit. And then the bus line runs right down to Team Software if they don't have a car. So that's we'll get them a bus pass. But yeah, so that competitive pay I think is incredibly important because, like I said, as you're recruiting, you want to be able to compete against some of these more recognizable software names, especially Team Software being a smaller to mid-sized company. It was great to try and get our name out there. And what draws them in is making sure you can provide the competitive benefits. So like I said, we're at the $18 an hour. We do the summer housing in the UNO dorms, which has been a great thing. It doesn't cost a ton, and it really helps us broaden the pool of potential interns for Team Software of just branching out just outside of the local area, which is great. But beyond that, yeah, I think when Kylie mentioned that, all those other benefits that Team Software provides, I think what the really big thing is that while the interns are, here over the summer, they see the benefits that are provided to the full-time employees. And that really helps with the conversion process of saying, hey, if I come work for Team Software, not only do I have competitive pay, but I also have really competitive benefits as well. And that's kind of just promoting those and make sure the interns are aware of the benefits for full-time employees in addition to, the benefits that they receive is another really good, kind of retention tool and trying to get them interested to come back for a full-time position.
I already kind of mentioned we pay on the higher end of that range. But like I said, we don't offer some of those other benefits to our interns, as far as like the health insurance goes. But I really loved how Brian and Kylie mentioned the summer housing. That is something that we've ran into with people outside of the area and thinking about how to find them a place to live because, they are only for a semester. So hearing that information makes me even want to rethink our own internship and how we can attract more people and have like an easier way of bringing them in. So I'm even learning being a panelist here. So thank you.
I think I'd add that our pay scale and our benefits it very varies greatly depending on the intern as well, because we get such a vast array of experience and age groups for our interns that, we learned kind of early that we don't want to get too aggressive with, even pay and benefits with the younger interns because they kind of expect it to escalate if they come back through the years. So be careful with that a little bit. And then also make sure that you are treating them appropriately, in particular, if you want them to come back as a full-time employee. It just provides that extra push to hey, this is a great place to work and a place that I want to at least start my career off. So I would tell you that the benefits and the pay scale, and based off our experience, really does vary quite a bit from intern to intern.
Great, thank you. And we do have a couple of questions I'll kind of pose to the group. So are you treating interns as part-time employees, or do you structure additional projects or training specific to the interns? Who would like to address that one?
I can take a stab at telling how we do it at Team Software, and we absolutely treat them as a full-time employee. And we do not put together specific intern programs for the interns. We pair them up with a full-time mentor, and they join one of our production software teams. And I think that's one of the big draws of Team Software's internship program is, in the software world, you hear about internship programs where they'll kind of relegate all the interns to a specific intern project, and then that's what those interns go off and do. And so I think it's a really cool opportunity to treat them, number one, as a full-time employee, but number two, to put them on a real team, working with your real full-time employees who are actually, putting things out into production. And so that's been a really, huge benefit to talk about when we say what the experience is like at the Team Software internship.
Another question that was posed, do you offer any sponsorship opportunities, assuming for international students, or tuition reimbursement benefits as well?
We at Team Software do, assist with sponsorships. And as far as the later question, that would be more for if you were hired on as a full-time employee, then we would. But for the internship program, since it is such a small duration over the summer, We don't offer it to interns over the summer, but as a full-time employee, if you were to transfer over as an FTE, absolutely.
All right, moving on. Let's talk about recruiting and hiring. Many of the students you recruit as interns will have limited or no professional work experience. So typically their background includes part-time employment, campus activities, or athletic or academic achievements. As a result, here are a few things to look for. Campus involvement. A student who is involved with extracurricular activities likely has self-discipline, good organization and time management skills, and demonstrated an ability to work in groups. And leadership roles. Strong social skills, teamwork, and self-confidence are all features of students that have leadership roles on their resume. Academic performance and coursework. Grade point average does not always tell the entire story of the student, but if there's a coursework they have completed that is relevant to your internship or industry, it is good to know that students performed well in those courses. In addition to, or even instead of GPA, ask about performance and projects and courses that you think that are applicable to the internship responsibilities. Prior work experience. Many potential student interns do not have professional work experience. Oftentimes internships are their first, but you can look at a past job title to see what skills are needed for that job and how they might translate into your internship position. So where and when to source candidates? For college level talent, there are 28 2-year and 4-year colleges and universities throughout the state of Nebraska. The easiest way to get in contact with local institutions is through the Nebraska College Career Services Association at nccsa.info, which includes a directory of the career services centers and contacts. Each university utilizes an online career management system such as Handshake or Simplicity, which allows employers to post jobs and internships for free easily at multiple schools, and also offers career fairs where registrations are available online, where employers can engage with students about their internship program opportunities. Although university career centers also typically work closely with their academic programs on their campuses, it may also be helpful to reach out directly to appropriate academic program major directors or faculty members. And career centers can help you get introduced to those faculty members as well. Because of the high demand for tech talent, something important to consider is when you should post internships to attract the largest pool of applicants. A general recruiting timeline for posting summer internships with universities would ideally be between September through March. However, earlier the better to have a greater number of students to interview and select. It is not necessarily too late to move forward with plans for this summer, 2021, for a summer internship if you are interested and can get things rolling soon. And we are happy to help you with that process. Because many tech internships are moving towards remote experiences because of the pandemic, this actually could more deeply widen your talent pool throughout the state and nationally. For those interested in launching a part-time internship for the fall semester, I would recommend posting your internship between July and September. And for spring internships, generally posting between November through February would be ideal. Courtney and Dave, can you talk a little bit about what that recruiting process looks like for you and your organizations?
Sure. Go ahead, Courtney, you're fine.
Right. Well, like I mentioned earlier, we go year round, and that has actually been a big benefit to us because it seems like we never quite seem to meet the timeline of when we want to get just a group of people in. And so doing it all year long seems to help us the best. And so then we constantly have a flow of people, and we have that pipeline of interns and full-time employees always coming in.
Yeah, I think I'd add that I guess our internship program's really been going for about 25 years now. And I would tell you the start of the process, it was probably a little bit more difficult to see if we could find a few interns that might be interested in working with us. But since it's evolved, I'll be honest, we get stacks of applications and people that want internships on a regular basis. And so it's not really maybe getting started to find those internship potentials is maybe a little bit more difficult, but once you get the program started, there's really not, in my experiences, there's not a need to go out and look. They find you, it comes in quick once that the word's out and your program really starts to evolve. So.
Yeah, and I can just go back about, as far as what to look for in candidates. I agree with you. There's rarely ever any prior work experience. The most I've seen is them going off and tinkering a little bit on their own. They might create their own little cover like web page, and so they'll show off a link, and so you get some knowledge about what their experience could be by looking at that, which can be impressive sometimes. But otherwise, we do a lot of questions based on the coursework that they're taking. Are they taking classes that are relevant to the type of work that they would be doing at our company? And we've definitely loved seeing people in leadership roles. So, we hire a lot of people that are in computer engineering. And so when they're in those clubs and they're participating and they can talk about their involvement, that definitely helps in the interview process.
Yeah, and the other thing is we've got a lot of positive feedback from interns that, they've really never gone through the employment process or trying to find a job. And so we really try to tailor our program towards, hey, what's it like when you get out of college and you're actually looking for a job? So we require the resumes, we require the applications, we do the interviews, and we really try to focus on, hey, if we were looking for a new full-time employee, what process would that look like, and try to mimic that for the interns, because it gives them the opportunity to go through that process prior to when it's really important to them. They're looking for a good full-time job. And we've got a lot of good positive feedback of saying, hey, I'm glad I did that for you guys the first time, because it made a big difference when I went back out of college. So
Just to kind of dovetail off of what Courtney was saying earlier, what team does as well is we really look for who is equally going to be a culture fit as, somebody with the experience. So as equal as the experience is important, we look for that culture fit. And a way that we at team kind of vet that out is in the kind of interview stages, we have a coding assessment. And I would put assessment in air quotes, as it's more towards like a working session on how that intern or candidate would code with the group, how they would communicate through problems and things of that nature. So it's not necessarily a pass or fail assessment. It's more or less, how are you going to work with the group? How are you going to communicate, across the team and everything. So just to kind of add that in.
And I can't stress enough too, especially regarding college interns, developing, good relationships with the university career centers and faculty in those programs are really critical. I did want to mention that the NTC has prepared a career center contact sheet that will be posted on the website following the webinar. So that'll make your, search a lot easier to connect with local institutions, depending on the programs that you're targeting. There is a question about onboarding and training programs, which leads nicely into our next topic. So let's move forward with onboarding. So your interns may be new to an office environment, and they will certainly be new to your workplace culture. Your goal in onboarding interns is to introduce them to your organization, how it operates, and what culture drives it, so that interns can adapt, meet your expectations, and excel in their roles. Here are some steps and considerations for successfully onboarding interns. Before they start, be very clear about the start and end date for the internship, and include the number of hours, days worked each week so you can confirm their schedule. Be on the same page. Some students pursue internships for academic credit. In that case, the employer's responsibility is to review the school's requirements in providing credit and schedule a time to fulfill those intern requests. This typically entails providing a job description, managing their hours worked, and completing an end of internship performance evaluation for the school, which you should be doing performance evaluations anyway of the intern. And explain the company's dress code and any other pertinent details. Identify a workspace for the intern and consider the supplies they will need, such as a computer, a phone, a company email address, maybe they need a building ID card, anything else that would be pertinent to their role. And then lastly, outline work expectations for your intern and create metrics for measuring intern success. So the question was, what do your onboarding training programs look like for your interns, and how much training, courses versus on-the-job training, do you provide your interns? Who would like to take that one?
From an HR perspective, our onboarding program is just like it would be for a full-time employee. They would meet with myself, go over some new hire information, such as, any onboarding documents, e-verify, all of that good stuff. But then we would also go over our team code, mission, vision, and core values, kind of go over benefits and everything that would be applicable for that intern. And then they would meet with their team. And Brian, would you care to speak with that?
Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, they spend a few hours definitely with Kylie and the HR team. They learn a little bit about team software, and then we get into the team norms process of hey, this is the team you're going to be working with. Maybe make sure they understand who their mentor is and what their project is. They need a little bit of background about what the software is and what it does, so that they understand really from the user's perspective what value we provide to our customers at the end of the day. And so as far as onboarding them into the code and getting them to be a productive member of the team is especially, just like I said, having the team lead and meeting with the mentor on what are the team norms. So each team at Team Software kind of agrees on their own set of team norms as far as like when they're going to be available, when they're going to be online. And I think to the point of, this is the first major professional experience for a lot of these students that we've seen. They may have had an internship the year before, but a lot of them, this is their first time. So just the basics of, hey, if you're going to be, if you're going to miss stand up, make sure you send a message, and this is your communication channel. So going through those basics of, here's how you communicate with your team. Here's how you make sure that you are fitting into those team norms and that the group has established. And that really helps to have that mentor that pairs with them. So to get them up and, coding, they'll do a lot of pair programming or shadowing those first couple of weeks with the full-time mentor that they've got on their team. And that usually really plays into that, having them be an actual productive team member. So I saw that there was a question in the chat about, in general, do they have, coding skills? And the answer is yes. We found guys and students that do have those skills to be able to contribute to the team, although they do require that onboarding period to really understand, well, here's how you write code in a professional setting. Here's what the process is for, understanding your acceptance criteria, creating that business value, and then pushing your code out for a review and getting it merged in. So very specific to having those interns be productive is the project that they work on. So we've got some technology at Team Software where would not be good for an intern to work on because it's maybe a little bit legacy, requires a lot of background knowledge or spin up time. So we tailor those intern projects very specifically to what they may have learned in class. So when we have teams working on the website, the mobile app, a lot of JavaScript is being taught today, a lot of Java is being taught today. So we look for those things that they can essentially take their skills straight out of the classroom and apply them to the project. And then, we supplement with that, here's a professional process for contributing to the team. So it's all kind of wrapped up into that onboarding process of helping them understand what the expectations are of them and how they're going to contribute to the team.
We treat them like full-time employees. When they come in, they go through a very similar onboarding process. The only thing that really sounded different on our team is, in the job description, we don't tend to say like, these are the days or the times that you would work. We leave it pretty open-ended until we meet with the candidate, and then we customize it to that person, just because classes could be all different times. Since they're online mostly right now, they are a little bit more flexible with us. But in previous semesters, we've needed to be more flexible with them. And so then just figuring out kind of what is the schedule. We've done it both ways where we've said, just put in this many hours a week and, maybe it's just like 15 or 20. That hasn't worked out as well for us because the rest of the team needs to also know that they can depend on them. And so we've had to change it a little bit more to say, okay, well, we can still be flexible, but let's come up with a schedule. So let's talk about which days and what times you'll be here. So we still have that flexibility, but then we also know when we can depend on them and what days they will be there so that we can get certain things done, or we can have the team all working together and moving forward.
Some more tips for especially when the intern arrives and talking about onboarding. Make sure obviously to give them a tour of your organization and introduce them to other key staff. Discuss operation procedures such as reporting time, requesting time off, absences, and any overtime rules that you might have. Make sure you provide a key list of contacts for them. And that could include, if there's an IT person, an HR person, their supervisor contact, any important clients or partners that they need to be aware of or in touch with. And then also provide an overview of your company culture. What are the unwritten rules of your organization? Regarding professional etiquette, sometimes students don't know what they don't know. So for etiquette advice, our first names used for everyone, or is everyone a Mr. or Miss or doctor level? Is it acceptable to bring a cell phone into a meeting and take notes or keep track of time? And what are your social media and cell phone policies in your organization? Finally, make sure to review any projects, expectations, timeframes, and communicate how the success for the intern will be measured to ensure that the intern will have a successful internship experience, both for you and for them. And then lastly, coming down the home stretch here, talking about managing interns, both in person and remotely. Just want to talk a little bit more and gain some insight from our employers on this. But many of the aspects students most look forward to about an on-site internship can be replicated in a remote environment. As your company continues to adapt to meet virtual workplace needs, we do have more specific tips for managing interns both remotely and in person. But the two biggest keys for a successful internship experience is communication and mentoring. Maintain strong connections to your interns by creating a regular schedule of communication, such as weekly check-ins, either via phone or video conference or chat messaging, and to indicate the interns and show them that they matter to your organization. Mentorship has been brought up a few times, which I love. It's an important part of an intern's experience, and the role of mentors in a remote setting will not be significantly different than an on-site internship. Make sure to assign a mentor that the intern can trust as a safe space to bring questions to or concerns about, and for help navigating the organization. Mentors can also assist in coaching the intern through the nuances of remote work and productivity in a virtual setting. And also, don't assume interns have expertise with common corporate software, even like Microsoft Office, Outlook, for example. Interns may need hands-on guidance learning certain digital tools that are relevant to your business, but this presents the opportunity for professional development and skills training for your staff, which is a large part of why they look forward to internship opportunities as well as the students. Some ideas with exposure and fun in mind could include scheduling cool downs or coffee conversations or lunch with leaders on a Thursday or a Friday to make sure you're talking about successes or hardships for the week. What are the lessons learned? The goal is to create a social point of connection interns can look forward to, and keep in touch via chat apps like Microsoft Teams, Slack, Google Chat, which provide an informal platform to connect on as an alternative to email. And include remote interns in larger company-wide meetings, as well as in on-site interns. When interns are remote, it might be easier for them to be included on non-sensitive company-wide meetings, but this helps them give them a sense of company culture, teaches them about the bigger picture at your organization, and helps keep them involved beyond their individual projects. Brian, can you talk a little bit about what that looks like in terms of managing the interns and what experience or lessons learned you've experienced from that?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a really good question, because we didn't really know the first year we did the internship program. Well, how are we going to onboard these guys? And I think we got lucky our first year with some really sharp interns, but we've experienced the gamut for sure since then on internship experience. So bringing them in those first couple of weeks are crucial, and we usually use it as an opportunity for our full-time employees as well. So I think Jeremy touched on it. On the teams that we assign our interns to, we kind of look for that perfect person that's looking for that leadership opportunity, who's a full-time employee, and we kind of say, hey, would you be interested in being the mentor for that intern? Because there's going to be a lot of shadowing, there's going to be a lot of training, and then that's an opportunity for us as team leads and managers to see how does our full-time employee, learn and grow in their leadership opportunity, as well as it gives a really cool opportunity for the intern to learn everything about the team and shadow a full-time, employee who's actively contributing to the product as well. So that mentorship, that ability to find that right person to be their buddy, their shadow, is fantastic. And then I think the don't ever assume point is a big point as well. And we've learned to not ever assume anything, right? If this is their first professional experience, they may need help with understanding, like Jeremy said, just using Outlook in general. Like, you hope that that's not the case, but making sure that they show up on time and they understand their team norms is also really important. So teaching them how to communicate within a team, I think, is going to be, crucial to their success as a full-time employee, no matter where they end up. And it's a really cool opportunity to see how they interact with the team over the course of their internship and see if they're a right fit for us to come back as a full-time employee. So in general, use it as that two-side approach, like give your own full-time employees leadership opportunities to manage and mentor the interns. And then that experience for the intern is pretty great as well, because then they learn alongside a full-time employee and begin to contribute as a production team member on the Scrum team. So
thank you. I know we're kind of wrapping up here, and I really appreciate the great questions along the webinar that we've been able to answer and address. We do have maybe a minute or two, and there's one more question on the Q&A that we can ask real quick. What is the youngest age that you might consider for an intern? Are there any Nebraska legal age limits on age? For example, in California, some employers are restricted in most cases to age 16. Does anybody know the answer to that question?
Well, I don't know what the legal age is for interns, but we've had high school interns. So I would say around 16, 17, 18 years old is the youngest that we've had.
I think the one challenge we've had is some of the duties that you can have them perform as part of the organization. In particular for us, they can't drive vehicles. They can't, do some of the stuff like some of the more insurance requirements have posed more of an issue than so much as the age. But I agree. We've gotten down pretty young, and it's been a great experience for them. So.
And I guess from a team software perspective, since one of our requirements is that you need to be enrolled in a computer science program or related area of study, our age would be, I think we've had the youngest was 18 or 19, but it does require some college education. So.
To close out here, if you do need someone to assist you or guide you through the internship process, the Nebraska Tech Collaborative has your back. The NTC Internship Committee and partners, along with the higher ed committee, the high school and colleges and universities throughout their network, throughout the state, we're happy to help answer any questions you might have. And as a nonprofit that collaborates with regional employers, higher educational institutions, city and civic leaders, NTC is your one-stop shop to help building your talent pipeline and growing your business. Thank you for joining today's webinar. Now we'd love to answer any questions. Thank you for joining today's webinar. And as a reminder, there will be a short survey that we'd love to have you complete to help us improve our NTC programming in the future. And I'll turn it over to Jana to close this out here.
This is great. Thank you all so much. Panelists, you guys were wonderful people for sharing your insights and your talents with us. And we're really excited that we got to figure out how to get more students into your organizations. So thanks for that. And thanks to the NTC Internship Committee. You all are amazing. Sean, Jeremy, Ryan, Bob, everybody who worked on this webinar. You guys are incredible. And then actually some of the other committee members are listed here on the page in front of you. And don't forget to follow us on the Nebraska Tech Collaborative on social media. We're really excited. When we started the beginning of 2020, we had no followers, and we're close to 1,000 on LinkedIn and a couple hundred on Facebook and Instagram. So please join us there. If you or your company are looking to get involved in the NTC Internship Committee, or even just other NTC committees, please join us for our committee kickoff next Wednesday, March 3rd at, I think it's at 10 a.m. You can find more information on our website under events to register. And again, thank you so much for joining us, and you all are great. Have a good week.